Hey everybody, what's up? How's it going? This is Furgie here, back from A Squad Gaming, and today we are on Forza Motorsport 6 once again. Today we are still in the Super Street volume, except now we are on the Club Circuit series in the Sport Coupes section. So as you can see here, I have a cute little roadster. This is the 2016 Mazda MX-5. I guess it's kind of considered the Miata. They don't necessarily call it that anymore, but it's the reiteration of this vehicle in the modern age. This is a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine Mazda with 155 horsepower, so obviously it's not too quick, but it is very light and very small, very agile, and has fantastic handling. That's kind of why I've picked it in this section. Obviously there are other little small cars if you look under the list, but I really like this one. I like how it looks. I love Mazdas, so that's really why we've gone with it. As we can see here, the speed and handling, or acceleration, excuse me, are kind of middle of the pack if you compare it to the rest of the cars in the lineup. But the handling and braking are a little bit above average, and that's really what we're looking for here. As long as the car can keep up and the handling is above par, you're gonna perform pretty well here in this series. Sometimes I would kind of prioritize speed and acceleration, but for this one I would really focus on handling. These are a lot of small, tight tracks that really you're gonna have to turn well, drive well, and going fast isn't the only important thing here. So as we can see here, we have a 5.2 second 0 to 60 and a 15 about second 0 to 100 with the top speed of about 150 miles an hour, which isn't really too bad, especially for a few of the cars in this class. So all that being said, now that we've done a brief overview, let's jump right into the Club Circuit series. This has 5 races, so a step up from last time, and I'll see you all first thing on Hockenheim Ring.
A small car, lightweight, pokey, skinny tired, rear wheel drive, and affordable. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Yet it takes guts for a manufacturer to produce cars like these. Cars that take the demands of practical motoring and place them on the non-existent back seat. Because really, they're made for one thing: driving, even if you have nowhere to go.
Alright, so like I said, we are now on Hockenheim Ring. This is the smaller version of the full circuit, and this is really a good start in the Club Circuit series. A lot of these races are going to have a lot of laps, 4, 5, 6 laps, with a lot of little tight turns and small compact areas to work with. So that's why it's really important that we have good handling and braking as opposed to acceleration and speed. As long as you can keep up, as I said, you should be just fine. So this particular race, really, there's not a lot of specific places that I could prioritize for passing and things like that, but pretty much every single turn can be used to your advantage. Now, as I said many times before, the drivatars will really pay attention to exactly how the braking chart works. So if you have your braking assist, or not brake assist, but the thing that tells you where you should be braking, you can really pay attention to how they're going to be driving and how they're planning on running this course, and you can kind of take advantage of that. Get a lot of inside passes in, really, I would say, on this course is the most important thing. If you're going straight and not trying to drift too much, you can really go straight to the grass on some occasions. That's going to allow you to get a pretty good jump right off the line, as well as a pretty good finishing place, maybe first, second, or even third. All 3 work, obviously. That's all we're shooting for in all of these series, is a 3rd place finish. So bump up your drivatar difficulty if things seem too easy, if you're getting first too easily, because you're going to get more credits, and as long as you're getting 3rd, you should be just fine. So one thing I would really say is just make sure you're not trying to go too fast. If you run into this sand, even over the grass isn't bad, sand is terrible. You're pretty much done for. If that happens to you, you're going to be tempted to do replays or something like that. So please try to be careful there, and really that's the most important thing when you're in this section of the lap, is make sure you're not driving into the sand. Now, one more thing, since there are more races in this circuit than the previous one, I have had to cut out a few laps. However, I've made sure just to cut out the laps where there's really nothing happening. Either my place doesn't change, or I'm in the front and I'm totally leading and I just have to keep lapping. I've cut things out like that, but I do show at least the last lap when I finish and things like that. So if you see any big skips, that is really the reason why. Other than that, I'll be showing all of the raw footage that you guys need to see. So anything else, I really don't think so. I think y'all should be able to do pretty well here on this first race. A few of the others might give you a little more trouble, but Hockenheim Ring is really one of the easier ones. So see y'all in a minute. For our second race in this series, we're at Brands Hatch, and this is by far the smallest of the laps in the entire circuit. This is absolutely tiny, that's why we have to go around 6 times, and there's not a lot of places for you to take advantage of the other drive tires and get good turns in. There are a lot of turns, there's 2 straightaways, it's pretty much shaped like a weird bubbly U. I don't really have any better way to describe it, but you're going to go out and then back in and then out again and then curve in and lap that about 6 times. So the most important thing is this first initial turn. You're going to be going pretty quick here because this is the fastest part of the lap, especially when you come back through the second time, obviously. So this turn, you can't be trying to take too fast. You're going to slide off into that sand, and just like that track, the last track, and many of the others, you really don't want to mess with sand. That's going to get you killed. You really are going to have to restart the race if you're even getting close to that sand. You're going to slide out. You won't be able to accelerate whatsoever. You're going to get past quite a bit. So make sure you're being careful on that turn. The others you can really be a little more kind of crazy with. This particular one right here, you can do an inside cut here on the grass, as you saw there, get plenty of passes in, and really take over the competition here in the inside of the track rather than on the outside, because you won't be going near as fast. You'll be able to handle better, and if you're using a car with good braking and handling, you'll be able to take advantage of a lot of these other older little crappy junkers of Sport Coupes. I'm really a fan of the Miata and the MX-5, so that's why I've gone with this. And it works out really well, despite the fact that it's not the fastest in this series. It's gonna really save your ass in a lot of places instead of going as fast as you can and then sliding all over the place with terrible brakes and things like that. So really that's about it for this track, I think. Take advantage on the inside of the lap instead of on the outside, and you should be just fine. Here's this curve from a high speed. See, you can kind of drift it a little bit, but you just want to make sure you're being careful. And if you can handle that and the other turn before the finish line, you should be just fine. So see you in a little bit. Good luck on this track. Alright, next up for the third race, we look at my all-time favorite track in Forza history. This has been Mies Alps, and really for one reason is because you can drive so fast on this lap. It doesn't matter what kind of format it's in, if it's the full track, if it's a shorter version like this one, we still need to go around 3 times, but that's a low number compared to some of the others in this series. This track is great because of how fast you can drive. The average speed of travel is probably 70, 80, or even 90 miles an hour, and you can take these turns at some ludicrous speeds. The drivatars are going to be a little more careful than you, but you don't have to. You're going to be hitting side rails, you're going to be hitting other cars, but it doesn't matter because you can drive so fast on this track. Even if you don't have the fastest car in the race, if you have good handling, it's going to help. But this is one of the few in this series where acceleration may be key. Obviously, you don't really need to go around switching your car up too much in the middle of the circuit, so I'm just going to continue going on with the Miata, and you'll see I still make it look pretty easy. I'm not bragging on myself or anything. This is a pretty easy track for anyone, I'd hope, but this is a great one, so I would suggest bumping up your drivatar difficulty. I think I'm on Pro here now, and I'm actually able to get in the lead pretty quickly. I might be on Expert. It looks a little too easy for that, but nonetheless, bump up your drivatar difficulty, have some fun on this track, slide around, do things like that, and really, I don't need to even give any tips, because all you have to do is drive fast. You can hit the turns sliding, you don't have to be careful. Get those passes in. The drivatars are too careful compared to how you're going to drive, and good luck, because this is the most fun in the series by far. Alright, for our fourth track in this series, we look at the short version of the Circuit de Catalunya. This is probably the second most difficult in the entire series, just because of a few of the more meticulous turns it has. You can't go quite as quick. You have to be kind of careful throughout different parts of the race, but it is still a lot of fun, even compared to the first couple races, because you can still go kind of quickly. Some of the turns are wider. There's nice little places to kind of cut corners and things like that, but every driver is going to try to take this race on in his or her own way. The two most important turns here are this first turn, and I would say probably the last turn. This first turn, unlike any other track hardly, is directly after the finish line. So you're going to have to brake almost immediately or before you're crossing the finish line, which is kind of abnormal compared to a lot of other tracks in this game or in general. So keep that in mind, that you can't breeze that finish line as fast as you can to go for good times and things like that, or you're going to be getting sandy after you cross the finish line and you're pretty much done for after that. So be careful. Don't turn into a speed demon, even if you're in a slow little roadster car with 150 horsepower. You need to be careful. The final turn is kind of a big, as you can see here on the mini-map, it's a big swoop, and you can kind of drift it, but the other drivatars aren't going to do that, and it's going to actually slow down your time. Another thing is there's a lot of tires all over this track, and you kind of got to be careful, especially in the first lap. As you can see here, this guy next to me really took a hard hit, but a few of these corners you can cut very easily, as you can see this one right here with those little jumpers. You can kind of ignore those and go over them if you're going fast enough to get past some people. But for this first lap, I would say just focus on staying in the lead, getting up to the 5th or 6th spot, or even 4th, and then work on getting your passes. As you can see here, we're getting up close to the finish line, and that turn is directly afterwards. So you're going to have to brake before, right here, when you hit it, and then take it on the inside. So the most important thing about this lap is doing your turns well, trying not to go too quickly, and just as long as you're keeping up, you should be fine. Kind of use the cars in front of you to your advantage in some of the turns. If you're not in the lead, hit them or whatever. Be a dirty driver, because they're just AIs and nobody's gonna care too much if you screw them up. The middle turn, the first turn, and the last turn are the most important, however. If you're taking all the other ones correctly, you should be just fine. Don't run into any towers of tires and things like that. You should be able to take this race down fairly easily. This is a little more difficult than the first two. It actually took me a few tries, but sooner or later you should be able to get it down, move down your drive tower difficulty, whatever you need to do. And this should be a pretty easy track for you once you get the hang of it. So I will see you all out on our final track here pretty soon, which will be in the rain. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, our final track is the Silverstone Racing Circuit, notorious in the United States and England. Now, really, this track, as short as it is, we only have to go around 5 times, only has 3 turns. It's basically a triangle with kind of a big looper S, or not an S, a U at the end for the final turn. So there's not a lot of places to really defeat the competition. Unless you have crazy acceleration compared to them, it's going to be hard to pass on the straights. Obviously, we're in the rain as well, so that's going to make things even more difficult. But the rain makes these turns even more important, and if you take them well, it's going to give you even more of an advantage over the other racers. Because of the rain, obviously, they're going to be driving worse just like you. So that's why you have to take full advantage of all 3 of these turns and make sure you're driving as well as you can. You can kind of screw around here on the straightaways, but I would not suggest trying to break through these corners too easily or too quickly, trying to drive through them or anything, because as you can see, I get very close to sliding out already, thanks to some other cars. But as this first couple lap goes by, along with the lap after that, or even the lap after that, make sure you're using the other cars to your advantage on the turns. You can kind of barrel into them and use them to slow you down, if you can, so which means you can take turns a little bit quicker. But once you get in the lead or you're out in the open by yourself, you need to brake as early as possible. Don't try to drift out of your turns or anything like that, and pay attention, because this rain makes things very difficult. Even though this is a very straightforward and simple track, you need to be careful. Here we're already on the final turn. The turn before that, the turn into the final turn, is probably the most important on the track, because you can kind of cut it off, and if you take it well, you can get a lot of passes in right there. But this is probably the hardest in the series, honestly. The rain obviously makes any of the races a lot more difficult than they normally would be. This would actually be a breeze if it was dry, but the rain will make this a lot more difficult, and along with these 3 turns will also make them fairly difficult. And it's really for the reason of this track, and maybe the last one or the first 2, that I've chosen the Miata, because you need good handling and you need good braking. Really, on this track, the braking is the most important. Taking things early like that. Don't get impatient and try to get your passes in too quickly. You get 5 laps to go around for a reason, and that's the most important thing, is make sure you're driving carefully, and eventually you will get your passes in. The drivatars are not invincible unless you have them on unbeatable, and then maybe they are unbeatable, but please don't do that to yourself, because you'll never win, or you'll never even place. So move your drivatar difficulty down if you need to. Still challenge yourself, but besides that, I think you should be able to conquer all 5 of these tracks very easily. This is a fun series. I like this one a little bit more than the last, even though there are 5 tracks. It's a little bit longer. I hope you guys still did enjoy, even though I had to cut down some things. Obviously, I didn't want to have a 45-minute video, and I didn't want to have to upload that either. But besides that, again, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this final track here. Good luck, and I'll be back in a minute. Alright everybody, as you can see here, we are nearing the end of our final lap. I have managed to take the lead, and I'm getting pretty close to the finish line with an even more decent lead. So I'm able to clean up these series pretty easily. It really wasn't too difficult. A couple of them might take a few restarts for all of you. Obviously, I'm not the best driver in this game. I'm sure some of you may even be better than me. So you should be able to handle all of this very easily if you choose the right car, you're driving carefully, and you're handling everything like that. But again, I do want to thank you all for watching. I hope you're all enjoying these Forza videos. I am looking into coming out with some showcase videos soon with the the bowling and the different kinds of IndyCar racing and racing the stick and things like that, because it all is kind of fun, and it's fun to watch, I hope, and I hope you all are enjoying watching these, even though they may be long. I personally enjoy making them quite a bit, and I very much enjoy this game, so I'll continue with these videos. I just recently got a lot more time, so I'll be coming out with a lot more of those as well. So this has been Furgie from Squad Gaming. Hope you all enjoyed. Keep an eye out for a lot more of these videos, along with many other games in the near future, and we will see you all next time.
Series complete. Well done. Now continue on for your next challenge.